Today we're going to review solving one-step equations, and before we do that, we're going to have some vocab words. So the first one here is an equation. So an equation shows two sets of values that are equal to each other. So this is by using an equal sign. Which of the examples below represent an equation? Letter A, does it have an equal sign? Yep, so it is an equation. What about letter B? Nope, it doesn't have an equal sign, so it's not. What about letter C? No equal sign again. Letter D, there is. Letter E, nope, no equal sign. Letter F, yes, there is, so it is an equation. Now the next few words aren't new words, we have talked about them before. So a variable is a letter. A variable is a letter that takes the place of an unknown number. So let's circle or highlight the variable in this equation. Everywhere we see the letter, which is x, and so that is our only variable in this one. A coefficient is the number being multiplied by a variable, so the number in front of the coefficient. So in this example here, our coefficient is 3. Notice how I just circled the 3, not the whole term 3x, because those are different parts. Then we have a constant, so that is a number with a fixed value. So it stands alone without being multiplied or divided by a variable. So it is just hanging out by itself. So if we look at this example, we have this positive 8, that plus 8, and then we also have 14. Those are both constants. Next we have inverse operation. So the inverse operation of a given operation can be thought of as reversing the operation. So the inverse operation of adding is subtracting. So then the inverse operation of subtracting is adding. The inverse operation of multiplying is dividing. And the inverse operation of dividing is multiplying. This idea is most often used to solve equations for a specific variable. And so that is why we talk about these inverse operations. So let's go ahead and review solving some one-step equations. We're going to show our steps. We're going to use the inverse operations to solve, so each equation so that we can solve for x. So right here we're trying to isolate x. Currently we are adding 13 to it. So in order to do x by itself, we have to use the inverse operation. So that means we are going to be subtracting 13 on both sides. Well, we can see right here plus 13 minus 13. That cancels out to 0, which is what we wanted. So now we're left with x equals, and then we have 42 minus 13, which would be 29. So x equals 29. On number 2, notice this time to isolate x, currently we're subtracting 8, so the inverse operation of subtraction is addition. So we are going to add 8 on both sides. Well, we can see minus 8 plus 8 cancels to 0, so we are left with x equals, and then 23 plus 8, 31. So x equals 31. Number 3, this operation right here, even though it's not written, multiplication. So that means to undo multiplication, the inverse operation is division. So we are going to divide both sides by 2. Well, 2 divided by 2 simplifies to 1, so that means we are left with 1x, or just x, and then equals 122 divided by 2 is 61. So x equals 61. And then last but not least, we have number 4. So right here we are currently dividing, so to undo division, we have to multiply. So we're going to multiply both sides by 2. So these 2's now cancel, so we are left with 1x equals, And then 14 times 2 is 28. This section of your notes need to be glued into your vocab.